The reason why I bring this up is that this is not specific to high profile people. And I know people think that it is. Like, this situation could never happen to a private security guard that makes $15 to $25 an hour. And that's not true. And the reason why it's not true is because anytime that your personal situation, your personal relationships, anything becomes a distraction at work, you can find yourself in this exact same situation. We had talked earlier about how, you know, when you're in a relationship with people or whatever you do behind closed doors, no one is really ever have a problem with that. And you hear people say, you know, your relationship outside of here, what you do in your bedroom is your own business. Once it becomes public knowledge, then that can become an issue where a company can say, we don't want to be associated with that. And these can be things that are not immoral or not illegal or not, you know,
maybe getting tied up is your thing.
it may, yeah.
You know, but
Look, let's keep it a buck, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep it a buck. Maybe getting tied up is your thing.
Yeah, you know.
And no disrespect and no shots to anybody who likes getting tied up. Do your
there's
thing.
a public association now to your sex life that a company may not want ties.
Your company does not want you're getting tied up or liking getting tied up, being associated with what you're doing in business, you know? And a lot of times people don't think about that. The big issue where private security guards have to be, I would say, concerned with something like this is the fraternization issue. A lot of times private security guards don't think about the circumstances surrounding getting into relationships with people that you work with, around, or for. And you have to remember that the client that your company is servicing, by placing you in that location, the people that work for that client, you technically work for them as well.
Yep.
Right? So if you're at a grocery store, the associates that work at that grocery store, even the customers that work at that grocery store, you have to be very, very careful getting involved in these sexual relationships, because once that becomes public or it becomes a problem and your company's being brought into it, then you're gonna have some issues. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, fraternization in the military, that was a huge thing, you know, that there's straight up a court-martial charge for that, you know.
How does that work? So is fraternization like only like enlisted to officer or someone in the direct chain of command, or is it actually anybody that you're working with or around?
Case by case, it really depends. So like if I'm a little Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli and I'm dating Captain Jane from the unit across the base, and we have no ties to where I can benefit from this relationship in a professional manner, then it's fine.
You have to declare it?
Yeah. So you have to,
Like to a first sergeant or something?
yeah, so it's pretty much you would have to declare it. So like, but if I was a Lance Corporal and I was dating another Lance Corporal in my unit, the situation is iffy. So for example, I had someone in my unit, I won't, say names, but they were dating a sergeant at my unit, but they were dating before she joined the Marine Corps. And then she joined the Marine Corps, checked into the unit, and they were still together. And I think they had to declare that they were fiancés in order for the relationship to continue or something, without him getting negative counseling or something for dating a junior, because she was in the direct line where she could benefit from the relationship. It's pretty much this whole thing to make sure that there is no direct biases to where like you don't want to be dating your CO because maybe you may get away with stuff, or it may put the CEO under scrutiny because now they're, are they,
a lot of different, a lot of different issues that can come up with that.
Yeah.
And, man, sometimes you're working these contracts and maybe it's a 1 week or a 2 week or something like that. And I've actually talked to guys who, they're like, man, I'm not going to be here long enough for this to even be a big deal. Like, if I want to hook up with this chick, I'm going to do it. But it really can cost the company a lot. And, we do have to talk about the unintended negative consequences that can come from the position that you're in. And man, so many people don't think about this. You are working in an environment where you're carrying a firearm. You're working in an environment where you're carrying a firearm. You have a perceived position of authority. And it's very easy if you're approaching females, if you're, no pun intended, shooting your shot. It's very easy to be accused of potentially intimidating people or putting people in a position where they didn't feel that they had the ability or opportunity to say no or deny. I mean, just all of these like murky issues that can come up. Yeah, a lot of different implications. And again, this is like every other situation and topic that we bring up. People who are in certain areas of the country will say that would never happen. It can, it can, and it doesn't take anything for people to twist, you know, circumstances like this. So, the old adage, "Don't shit where you eat." Right? If you need that paycheck, you need that job, find mates, partners, and people to hook up with in different environments. And I know that's easier said than done because you end up falling for who you fall for. But
you know, what easier place is there to find people than the place you work? Some other times you got to go out of your way. You're meeting strangers. You're hoping for a chemistry that may not even exist. It's like,
Meanwhile, your security company's like, we're going to put you at the door of this Victoria's Secrets for 16 hours, and it's summertime.
I mean, sometimes the easiest place to make friends is the place you work, because sometimes you're working in a place with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Like private security, I feel like there are a lot of crossing interests for why people get into it, but for every 10 people you maybe disagree for why you got into it, there's at least one or two that agree with you. So sometimes it is easier to make friends. You just got to be very careful about what type of a relationship you're forming.
Certain companies have policies where you have to disclose if you're, romantically linked to someone. Probably a good idea. Like if you're not going to observe the "don't shit where you eat" and you're going to try and fraternize or hook up with people, it's probably in your best interest to disclose that to people and be open and transparent about it. Unfortunately, the people that you end up being attracted to generally are not, it's generally not a situation where you want to disclose that. People end up being attracted to somebody that's married or somebody that's...
It can happen.
Yeah,
it can happen.
These, I don't even want to say weird because it just seems like that's life in general, but these things do come back to bite you as someone who's personally been bit before. The news.